Hey guys, welcome back to Walking with Jesus Daily. We are in day 152, and this is day 92 in our daily walk, and we are still on the agricultural side of things. I thought that we were done with the sowing and the seed, but we're not. We have talked about parables. We have talked about different types of soil. We have talked about weeds and wheat and how God gives the growth. We have talked about a lot of things, and I have done more discussing over the last week or so on growing wheat. I don't even know. It's going to sound bad. Quite honestly, I'm not even sure what I eat that has wheat in it. Bread, but I don't really eat bread, so that's my only guess. However, this was very important, obviously, and was grown by a lot of people, and this was something that people understood. Jesus would not have taught a parable. He would not have taught a very complex, he wouldn't teach a parable in trigonometry. So the fact that it's a parable is difficult enough for us to understand. But then to teach it or to give a story about something we wouldn't even understand to start with wouldn't even make any sense. So that's not what he's doing here. He's trying to make it in a way that people can understand, and then they can seek. God. Again, not seek the wisdom of the parable, but seek God who is wisdom, but seek God who is everything for us and who is truth. These are just ways for us to know Him, and then for us to know who He made us to be, and then for us to know what His kingdom looks like. So we have a mashup today, and we'll get into that. It's going to be Matthew 13, 31 and 32, and Mark 4, 30 through 34. And we'll talk about this some. I know that we have discussed this before, but this will be new for us today. So we'll see what God has for us today. And then I may read both of these in the Amplified. All right, Matthew 13, 31 and 32. He put another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches." All right, now the Amplified of that is this. Then Jesus taught, that was Passion. Let's go here. There we go. He gave them another parable to consider, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. And of all the seeds planted in the region, it is the smallest. But when it has grown, it is the largest of the garden herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air find shelter in its branches." Now we'll read the ESV version in Mark 4, 30 through 34. And he said, "With what can we compare the kingdom of God? Or what parable shall we use for it? It is like a grain of mustard seed, which, when sown on the ground, is the smallest of all the seeds on earth. Yet when it is sown, it grows up and becomes larger than all the garden plants, and puts out large branches, so that the birds of the air can make nests in its shade." With many such parables he spoke the word to them, as they were able to hear it. He did not speak to them without a parable, but privately to his own disciples he explained everything. Mark 4, 30 through 34, and we'll read that in Amplified. And he said, "How shall we picture the kingdom of God? Or what parable shall we use to illustrate and explain it? It is like a mustard seed, which, when it is sown on the ground, even though it is smaller than all the other seeds that are sown on the soil, yet when it is sown, it grows up and becomes larger than all the garden herbs, and it puts out large branches so that the birds of the sky are able to make nests and live under its shade. With many such parables, Jesus spoke the word to them, as they were able to hear and understand it. And he did not say anything to them without using a parable. He did, however, explain everything privately to his disciples. Now, I'm going to leave the Mark version up here, and then we're going to go back to the blended version, so our mashup, where we put Matthew and Mark together, because the goal is to know God. The goal is to know God's kingdom, because we're supposed to seek first the kingdom, and the goal is to know what that looks like for us. Are we seeking the kingdom? Because God's growing the kingdom. And if we seek the kingdom with our whole heart, he will reveal things to us, and we will know, and then we can choose. And we can choose if we're surrendered to him or if we're not. As we go into this mashup, it says, he put another parable before them, saying, with what can we compare the kingdom of God? Or what parable shall we use for it? The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all the seeds on earth, yet when it is sown, it grows up and becomes larger than all the garden plants, and becomes a tree and puts out large branches, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its shade. With many such parables, he spoke the word to them, as they were able to hear it. He did not speak to them without a parable, but privately to his own disciples he explained everything. So it says here that he spoke many parables to the people. It says, with many such parables he spoke the word to them as they were able to hear it. Think about this for a second. He's telling stories, parables about the kingdom of God, and then in private he is explaining them to his disciples, because even they didn't understand. What does this say about you and me? If we don't understand the parable, shouldn't we seek Jesus for the truth? Shouldn't it be Jesus that explains the parable to us? Do you not believe that he can open your mind and help you to understand what you're reading? When you stop trying to make logical sense of what he's saying, and you let him open your mind, he will, and he will explain it, and you will understand it, and it will be pretty amazing. This much I can promise you. But he says this says that he put another parable for him, and he says, how can we show what the kingdom of God looks like? So what is the point of the parable? The point of the parable is so that people can understand what the kingdom of God looks like. And he says it looks like this. It looks like a mustard seed that is super tiny and that is planted in the soil. And then God causes it to grow. And he makes it so much larger than it started. He makes it so big, so much bigger than any other of the garden plants, right? That birds can even come and make nests in its branches. Now, what other kind of garden plant can do that? What is the point that he's trying to make here? He says it doesn't matter, and the point of it is that it's small. He chose 12. He could have chosen as many as he wanted to, but he chose 12. And from those 12, he was going to start the kingdom. He was the king and the herald all at the same time. And he was bringing the kingdom to the people because we need it. And it's because what we've been looking for our whole life. Then he leaves it in the hands of 12 men, his disciples, for them to go and teach the whole world. Now, couldn't Rome in all of its power, and couldn't the Jews and the Pharisees in all their power have quieted and put this out? Of course they could have. But that wasn't God's plan. See, God causes the growth. God causes it to grow. He's trying to imply or show us here that not only does it grow big, but it grows strong, and it grows powerful, and it grows in a way that is inviting at the same time as it is powerful. It says that becomes a tree and puts out large branches so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its shade. Now, we're not talking about different kind of birds. We're not getting into the idea that we're talking about birds in this. This parable is not about birds. It's not about different kinds of birds. It's about the kingdom of God and what the kingdom of God looks like, and what the kingdom of God becomes, and what God is going to grow the kingdom of God into, and how he's going to do that with improbable odds, and how Jesus, when he dies and goes into the earth, is brought back to life. And that life then gives life to all men who choose him. And those 12 are filled with the very Spirit of Jesus. And so are you, and so am I, when we believe and accept that. When we believe the words that are spoken in the Bible. When we understand who God is and what his plan is, and not just what his word says. Because it's a lot bigger than that. As we've talked about before, Satan knows every word of the Bible. And I know a lot of people that have Bible verses memorized but don't live by any of it. I sadly well, I won't give stories, but put this together with all of the other parables and think about what God is talking about, what Jesus is talking about, what God is talking about through Jesus. What are these stories? What's the point of them? What should we think about them? You can't stop the kingdom of God. It will grow into something mighty and amazing. It will start very, very small, and it did, and it will grow very, very big. This is the kingdom of God. What is it compared to? It's like a mustard seed that grows into a large tree. So much so that even birds can build their nests in its branches. But look at what it says at the end. I think this is important. With many such parables, he spoke the word to them, as they were able to hear it. He did not speak to them without a parable, but privately to his own disciples, he explained everything. To the people that gave up their entire lives to follow him, to the people that decided to surrender their lives and give their lives over to him, he explained everything. He explained the meaning of the parables. How do you expect to hear Jesus when you're still talking? How do you expect to understand the kingdom of God when you're trying to put it into the ideology of the kingdom of men? God's kingdom doesn't work that way. God's kingdom is a spiritual kingdom. It is a forever kingdom. It is a mighty kingdom. It is a kingdom that will grow from nothing into the largest of plants, from a small, small seed to a tree big enough for birds to make nests in its branches. That is the kingdom of God. I think that's going to wrap it up. It is a small seed and a great kingdom, and it's a small lesson and a powerful lesson at the same time. What God has started in you, although small, can grow into something amazing. The small, humble, quiet life that you live that is serving and loving other people and showing the love of Jesus, if it's in your home, or if it's in your workplace, or if it's wherever it is, and if it's everywhere you go, the small, small, small things that you can do, God can use to grow the kingdom 100 times, 60 times, 30 times. Because God gives the growth. So sow the seed. Let the seed grow and mature in you so that you can produce fruit. And let God have his way with you. All right, guys, I love you. I'll see you next time.